What is embracing the unknown? What is getting out of your comfort zone? These are the questions that we need to ask ourselves when we realize how it's being represented in our culture through mythology, such as the Matrix movie, Neo taking the red pill and exploring the truth of his existence, Frodo and Bilbo Baggins leaving the Shire, their comfort zone where everything is green and growing perfectly. There's nothing really dangerous where they are, and they had no idea that there was orcs, dragons, demons out there that were ready to be faced and confronted by them. Joseph Campbell represents this in his work of studying mythology across all different cultures, and he came up with a mono-myth, sort of a blueprint that all these myths follow by. One of the first steps is when the hero journeys into the unconscious, the unknown, by going into the underworld, having to face the dragon that is chained to the gold and has a bride with which it has no use of, representing how the lower carnal mind that wants fleshly pleasures is going to chain itself to gold and think that it can achieve real spiritual wealth through material goods, which it cannot. It comes from within the own self, and we have to face that fact that we are an eternal, infinite being, and that true wealth comes from within. So when we realize that a true shifting of paradigms is when we embrace a world completely new to us that might be harsher to admit to ourselves at first, that this is how the world actually is. I know I can feel this in my own path, that the world is full of deception and lies, but these are also just symptoms. Getting to the root, it's much beyond just this plane. They're hyperdimensional forces that are at work, moving, just like Plato talks about the shadows on the cave wall. His allegory of the cave is also symbolic of this process of actually leaving the cave and journeying into what existence really is. And when the people that have captured the slaves are just projecting shadows onto the wall with a fire behind them that they have no idea, they just believe that the shadows are real. This is like what government, what politics, what's even conspiracy theories like 9/11, like the moon landing, like GMO foods, fluoride in the water, all that stuff. It is true, but it's also just symptoms. The root cause is that there's a demonic force behind it all, and it's not working just on this plane. If we realize that there is so many more dimensions beyond the one that we are just living in, they're using human beings merely as puppets and pieces on a board to just move and put in place to enact their plan of manipulating human consciousness and using us as a battery, as it shows in the Matrix movie. We're just an energy source for them. Look into the work of Bernard Guenther. I'll link that in the description. He breaks this down to such a very easily understandable level. But yeah, that's how it's related on my path. And this can be even facing your dragon, your shadow self, everything that you don't want to look at in day-to-day life. It doesn't have to be physically going somewhere. It can happen where something comes up in your life and you know that it's a fear of yours, but you face it head on, because you know that that's going to make you more whole of a being by actually, as Joseph Campbell also says, eating your shadow, just looking at your darkness for what it really is and just completely eating it and integrating it, because it's gonna come to the party anyways, so might as well invite it. It's gonna come out, your shadow self, unconsciously and unbeknownst to yourself in so many situations, triggering you. But until you make that conscious, as Carl Jung says, man is going to be led by fate. But the truth really is that we have the power at any time to shift our paradigm and leave the comfort zone and actually embark on the path that has been traveled by endless amounts of souls, the hero's journey. So just some food for thought. I'm speaking just to share ideas here and maybe open some people's eyes that there's a lot more than what we were taught, or maybe what even our parents think. It really happens when we trust in our own self, we trust in our intuition, and read the signs. There's a call in the hero's journey that the hero must be able to attune his or her gaze to be able to see. And once that is enacted upon, it is akin to the number 0, the tarot deck, which is very ancient, encoded principles of how our soul traverses through existence. And the Fool card, we notice if we look at it, is stumbling off a cliff. And this is pretty much symbolic of when we recognize that we really know nothing, and we're not afraid to jump off of a cliff, and we don't really care where it ends, but we know that it is a more meaningful of an existence. And this, it's not for everyone. Some souls aren't meant to shift their paradigm in this lifetime. Maybe they needed to learn a different lesson and stay in the comfort zone. But for those that feel that the world is full of lies and they see it, recognize that it isn't an easy time shifting your paradigm. Enlightenment is a destructive process. I forget who says this, but it's so true. When it's not just like illuminating yourself and everything is love and light. It's like as your light is growing stronger, the depths of your darkness are being rooted even further and further. And it's more of a tearing down of what you thought you were. All the programs and conditioning of our culture. And in Buddhism, they talk about alleviating suffering to just find our inherent state. I really do think enlightenment is just our true nature. We're actually like connected to the universe, connected to trees, animals, other life forms. Human beings are like the cells in our body. We are one conscious organism, and we are all individual cells like in our body, just expressing different forms. And it's also true on another level of just all life being connected, all animals reflecting back certain principles within you. And this relates to the call. because nature, like I said, when your gaze is attuned and you actually know what to look for, and you're open and receptive to how spirit is using forms to communicate to you, then this is when the journey begins. But yeah, appreciate those who have watched this. Hope you could take something from it and see how mythology is really just an internal process to encode the deeper mysteries of existence, and that it can really fuel our journeys when applied to our own inner process.